Well, Jennifer, DeKalb County Police says they're actively investigating this incident and combing through evidence. And as they do, I want you to take a look behind me. Right now, crews are working. You can definitely see that the water is rising very quickly. So I'm on Northside Drive just by Sagamore, and the water has overflown the banks just close to Peachtree Creek. If you look behind me, literally water as far as you can see. I am extremely prepared, Aisha. I got my water. I got my umbrella, creating my own shade, okay? I don't need a tree. And residents here are also being prepared. Earlier, we saw some residents getting into the splash pad to try to avoid the heat, and the city of Atlanta issuing a warning to make sure no resident is impacted by heat-related injuries. You know, Aisha, they were not happy. Those we spoke to say they spent 2 hours, some others 3 hours waiting for the highway to reopen. And while right now only one lane remains closed, it was not a good start to the morning for many commuters. Behind me, you see a long line of trucks filled with mail, all waiting to be processed. And since we've been out here, we've seen very little movement with those trucks. You can see the doors of these units just blown out, many of them experiencing some of the water coming in from the top too. But if you walk this way, it gets worse. The entire storage unit building flattened and people's belongings outside. We're told that this unit right here belongs to someone who just moved out of their home, and this is all of their belongings. Yeah, well, they started the work early this morning and have been out here for much of the day and will continue throughout the night trying to fix this massive hole behind me. And I want to give you perspective on the line. We're told it's 36 inches. That's 3 feet. So that's this wide and this long. Just take a look behind me. You can see this gaping hole. This is where the car landed, finally came to a rest. This is just one of several homes it hits, though, because if you pan just a little bit over, you can see another roof partially collapsed after the car came sailing through the air.
A big boom. I thought it was a tree falling or something like that when I got up. And I went in the backyard and I looked and I saw a lot of debris. The
big boom Brookwood Commons resident Albert Little heard was no tree falling, but instead an early morning accident that ended with an SUV landing inside a home.
When I wake up, I can see a car. I'm laying on the bed, but I can see a car and a guy inside the car. Lasek
says he was awakened by the accident, and he wasn't the only one hit. According to Cobb County Police Department, around 2:30 this morning, officers in their DUI task force attempted to stop a 19-year-old driver from Jefferson. The driver is accused of speeding away from officers, who say they also lost sight of him. Police also say his SUV began rotating, hitting stone landscaping, then a tree, then a home, and finally coming to a stop inside Deck's home on Alice Bar Lane.
Before I could get back in the kitchen, and when I got halfway, I heard a noise and I seen the kitchen collapse. I thank God none of us got hurt, but I'm also glad that he didn't either.
Now, police tell me that 19-year-old driver is still in the hospital. They say when he is released from the hospital, he will be taken into custody. No word yet on what the charges will be. Sending it back to you guys. It's been a tough time. The mood continues to be somber here at Appalachia High School. Now, periodically, we've seen people come by and lay flowers and other items at the school's front sign. And we also caught up with a student and a mom who describes the horrific moments of this incident, moments that are now etched in their minds forever.
The smell of gunpowder, it was just like there was powder all over the floor. It was so smoky in the halls.
Appalachia High School 10th grade student Ariel Bolin says the horrifying images of when the accused gunman opened fire inside her school continues to play out in her mind.
It occurred like right outside of my room, so just like seeing blood everywhere and the smell of gunpowder is just really traumatic. I've just been trying to get my mind off stuff and just not think about it, but like the gunshots and like the smell of everything is just like clouding in my brain.
According to the GBI, around 10:20 Wednesday morning, the Borough County Sheriff's Office received alerts of an active shooter. Ariel was exiting her classroom when the shots were fired. She quickly ran back in, took cover, and called her mom.
At first I was thinking she was kidding or she just wanted to leave school, but then I heard the gunshots, 5 gunshots, and then I screamed, "Ariel," and looked at my phone and it was dead. She was not there. I couldn't even figure out how to call her back. I was so scared.
The next 30 minutes were terrifying for Ariel's mom, Tabitha Massey, who began making her way to the school.
They stopped us and wouldn't let us go anywhere, but I did get the text that, Mom, I'm fine.
And
that text message was the best text message I ever saw.
Ariel was okay, but 2 teachers and 2 students did not make it out alive.
I just wish this on nobody. And it's horrible to think that just a normal day at school can become so heartbreaking to other people. And it's just a lot.
Now, the district's grief counselors will be available today from 8 to 8 p.m. at the central office. They'll be also available tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Live in Borough County, Bobeth Yates, 11 Alive News. Well, Ron, for years, many have said those who illegally take possession of the home have more rights to stay in it than those who own it. And one community shared their struggles with squatters, and they say this reform couldn't come soon enough.
Our problem houses right here with the drug dealing, and you see the shooting inside the house, gunshots, broken out glass.
Mel Keaton, the president of Hampton Oaks Homeowners Association, says their community has been plagued by squatters, at one point having 18 homes that had been taken over illegally.
What's happening is the people get companies to buy the property for them, and when they can't afford it, they move out. So then the squatters move in.
And Keaton says the squatters have not been neighborly.
We had situations like armed robbery. We got a couple of prostitution rings going on. We had drug dealing going on.
Because of laws protecting squatters, Keaton says their HOA and property owners have had a difficult time evicting the squatters. But the Georgia House and Senate recently passed a Squatters Reform Act aimed to change that.
It puts some parameters to protect property owners. Right now, if there were an eviction process that could take months to get someone out of your home that you own, now it would take 3 days.
In addition to speeding up the eviction process, Representative Misha Maynor says the squatters will now be held financially liable.
And they also must then pay rent for all of the time that they were in the property. Also, if there are any damages.
Maynor adds squatters who make up fake rental agreements could be charged with a misdemeanor and jailed for up to a year. News that Hampton Oaks residents whose homes value $450,000 to $600,000 say couldn't come soon enough.
This was a beautiful neighborhood, and it feels terrible to know that something like this could happen, and somebody could actually commit burglary and legally have the rights to help them to stay in the house.
Now, the reform isn't a done deal just yet. The governor still has to sign it. Well, Ron, the bridge right behind me here at Sidney Marcus and Buford Highway is one of the areas of concern. I first want you to focus on that green or neon green bin. Right above that bin is a 4x4 crawl space, and people have been using that bin to get inside the bridge.
I had no idea that this guy was going to disappear inside this column.
Imagine the shock of driving under an overpass and looking up to see feet disappearing inside a bridge.
And I see a guy putting a big green trash barrel down, and he climbs up on top of it, and he starts making his way inside the interstate overpass, almost similar to what you would see at an attic in a house.
11 Alive's own Crash Clark is among the latest to witness someone entering a bridge hatch. And our cameras got a first-hand look inside the space, and someone has definitely been there recently. And this isn't the only area. While investigating this story, we captured a different person exiting the crawl space of another bridge.
Obviously they're going in because they're cold or they need shelter, but maybe we can find warming centers or create more shelters, but I think that's a hazard for the community.
There's real concern for the people that are living in there, as well as for the people around, and there's been so much property damage as a result of this kind of inappropriate living space.
People gathering or items being improperly stored under roadways has many worried. The situation could lead to a bridge collapse similar to the one in 2017 when a section of I-85 fell after a massive fire. Catherine Vassell with Partners for Homes, a nonprofit that helps to connect homeless people with resources, says the concern is on their radar.
We have elevated that issue to the Georgia Department of Transportation, and they are aware of it. They are working to secure those locations, and we have asked that they prioritize that.
In a statement, GDOT confirmed the effort and added they're working with local law enforcement and social service agencies to secure area bridges. As for witnesses like Crash Clark, they remain in disbelief.
Maybe 4x4x4 opening, and he just whoop disappeared. There goes the sneakers and everything. I was like, he's inside the interstate. I couldn't believe I saw that.
Now, Partners for Hope tells me that they recently got more than $2 million to help relocate and replace people that are either living within the bridges or around the bridges into homes. I also recently spoke to APD, and they said they did an operation 2 days ago removing some homeless people from the bridges, and currently they do not have another operation scheduled yet, but this is something they periodically do with GDOT. Sending it back to you.
All right, Bobeth.
Jennifer, I can say the conditions were not good. Things were so bad. They had mold growing on the ceiling, the walls, and there were even rats.
It's a hole right there where the rat come out of there and goes under my bed.
This Woodland Heights resident says the rat infestation in her apartment is so bad, she worries about putting her infant daughter on the floor. And while there, our camera saw one of the rodents caught in a trap.
They came on my bed. They was in my kids' clothes on the first day of school. It ran past my hand. I went to my rent office and I told her, and nobody still have not came and done nothing. It's about to be a whole nother year.
But rats are only part of the issue.
Look, all these ain't never holes. This is what we put on here to cover up all of this. All of these right here. This sink ain't been stopped up. We can't use this. We can't use this.
Wait,
look.
The stove don't work?
Nope, nothing in here work.
This resident showed us a kitchen that is completely inoperable with no working fridge, no working stove, and no working sink.
Had so many nets in this room, they were coming through the vents. Nets were coming out this floor, so they had to pull the carpet up. Like this floor, this carpet right here was mildew, so they had to pull the carpet up.
Those we spoke to asked us to hide their identity out of fear that management will terminate their lease for complaining. And they say the issues are also outside the apartments.
Oh, this is sewage.
And while we were shooting, management asked us to leave.
Hey, you guys need to leave. This is private property.
Still, residents living at Woodland Heights say they have no choice but to tolerate the unhealthy living conditions. Now, we reached out to the management company and they declined comment. We also reached out to the city and they tell us that they are looking into the issue.